put me into a writing lab. Yeah, they stuck me in there. Told me I had to go, H-A-D, to go. And told me I had to stay in there until Mr. Prescott either gave me a B plus on a paper or the semester ended. Yeah, that was a sentence. That was a sentence. I didn't know that later on I was going to be exposed to sentencing people, but I got sentenced. I had stayed there the entire semester or write a B plus paper before that. Well, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they saw me still in there. Yeah. And then at the end of the semester, I was still in there. I was a class of 1. And then the next semester, I was still in there. Still a class of 1. And so there I was, Mr. Prescott in that. My girlfriend didn't like the fact that I was still in there because she thought that I get tired of folks saying, there goes the dummy, because I was still in that class. Well, anyway, one night she came up to my room and did like, you ladies do sometimes. You conduct an unlawful search and seizure of your boyfriend's room. Well, she came over there and unlawfully searched my room. And she found papers I had written. And she found that the second week I had written a B plus paper. And she wanted to know why was I still in there. And so then she was upset at me. I told her that I had voluntarily stayed in there. Because quite frankly, I did not understand why I had gotten a B plus. Yes, he gave me a B plus, but I didn't understand why that B plus was any different than the C plus I had gotten before. So I decided I'll stay until I learned how to write and understand the difference. And I didn't care that folk laughed at me. So I stayed. And finally, the second semester, Mr. Prescott told me that I wrote as well as he. There was absolutely no reason for me to stay there. Stood me in good stead because when I went to Yale and wrote my first paper, the instructor told me it was the best paper he had seen in 5 years. So that's the kind of experience I had. Writing. And remember that you are for your own development and not subject to peer pressure because somebody is saying that you are in this special class, this remedial class, and you must be some dummy. Or the girlfriend who meant well. But I was for my own development. So then, you're going to write a lot here. Stay in that writing lab until you learn why it's important that you phrase it a certain way. Read some of those classics so you can see how to write for power. And then take the shortcuts. Remember all this stuff on the passive voice? There are 5 boys here. Drop the there are 5 boys are here because that's more powerful than using that passive voice there are. You learn those kinds of things. You can work from there and work on your grammar. And then that brings me to the next point. Grammar. My grammar wasn't very good. So then I got a 7th grade English book. 7th grade. Ready to go bold letters. And then I memorized all the rules. I had to. Because in my household, what sounded great was absolutely wrong. My grandmother had a 3rd grade education, could not read nor write. My grandfather had a 1st grade education, could not read nor write. My mother quit school in the 9th grade. My father stopped school in the 11th grade. So then I didn't have anybody around me to convey the king/queen's English. So then what sounded great in my household was probably absolutely wrong. My grandmother told me that she could speak English with the best of them when she wanted to. So then she would say, "We doesn't hear you." And then she'd look over at me and she'd say, "Can't your grandmama throw away some really strong words?" "Yeah, little mama, go ahead and do what you gotta do." But I'm telling you, you're gonna do a lot of writing. Your grammar might need some improvement. Don't be ashamed. There's no grammar course here. So then get you a book and read it. And memorize the rules if you're not sure that you are correct. Next point. The president told you, listening is on my list here. Number 4, Mr. President. You took a peek at my list, didn't you? Improve your listening. Most folks only remember like 80% of what you hear. What happens to the other 20%? That's why you improve your listening. Now, I have worked on mine because look at what I do. I sit in court all day. I'm listening to everybody argue, all the nuances here. I'm listening. That's what I do. If I was in your shoes back when I came, I would work on those listening skills, just like the president said. Next, make learning fun. Make it fun. Now, let me tell you why. I took calculus 2 and something else, linear algebra or something, and it was beating up on me. And I was trying so hard to work through all these problems and do my stuff. And, you know, but it was drudgery. But then I took a course in logic. And there's Aristotelian logic, and then there's symbolic logic. Symbolic logic is just like math. And so the instructor said that we'll take 7 exams, but if you are satisfied with your grade at the end of 6 exams, you don't have to take the 7th. Well, I had murdered those 6 tests. I had straight A's on all the first 6. And so the instructor called me over and wanted to know the secret of how I had dealt with this difficult subject so well. And I told him it was fun. And he says, well, gosh, you know you're the only non-math student in the class. And I said, only non-math? He said, yeah, just you. Everybody else is a math major. And they're struggling. And here you dance through this stuff. I walked out perplexed. How could this stuff be so simple to me when math was dusting me off when I had taken it? So then I thought about it. Logic was fun. I would hear people talk. I would do my little squiggles and diggles, draw my little line, and then say illogical, like Spock. You know, of course, it didn't make me very popular. You know, folks couldn't stand me, but that's all right. But I recognized that when I made it fun, it became easy. So, make it fun. Give yourself fun examples that you're dealing with and solve them. And you'll find then that what you thought was difficult is not difficult. Now, for those who are playing sports, you know, I played basketball here. Played basketball when I left here. In fact, I played a lot of basketball. Had a chance to go over in Texas to try for a pro team over there. They liked my skills, so I decided not to go because I had a full boat to go to Yale. My mama said it's not going to happen. You're going to have to go one or the other. And they weren't paying the kind of money they're paying now. Quite frankly, they're paying the kind of money they're paying now, I'd have to probably go over there and check it out. But at that time, way back then, it was a whole lot different. But I want to say this to those who play sports. Make sure you understand that when the game is over, you're not going to do it studying that night. I know you're going to want to do it. I know you're going to say you're going to do it. But if you won the game, you're going to luxuriate and glorify in all those great moves you made during the course of that victory. So you're not going to study. Plus, you're going to wait for people to come by and pat you on the back, call you up, and tell you how wonderful you were. If you lose, then you are not going to study, because then you want to review everything you didn't do and wish you had done. So then what you have to do if you play sports, you got to study before and then go and do your thing on the athletic field and stuff. Next, your memory. Improve your memory. You know, read some books on improving memory. You'd be surprised where it can get you. You know, when I was in law school, I used to go to some of the parties that the bigwigs would throw. And I was fortunate they would invite me. And I would go. And at that time, I had worked on my memory so thoroughly that what I could do then was take 30 names and give them forward, backwards. So then near the end of the party, I'd go back over to all these people and talk to them, give their names, give the names of their children, everything else. I was in New York at one of those big wig parties, and a guy was so impressed at that he held me a conversation. And even though I had been introduced as a guy who was going to Yale and all of that, and what I was doing at Yale, he hadn't heard a word. But after I talked to him about his children and reminded him what he had said about some other things that he was shocked that I remembered, he then asked me, now, where are you in school? Now, what are you doing? And he was the leader, the owner of a major law firm in New York, and offered me a big-time job right there on the spot. In fact, I was so impressed by the job he offered me, even though I hadn't gotten any money. I called a cab back to my school and tipped the driver $20. Then I thought about it later. I must have been crazy. But I was rich, you know, with the offer. So remember that. And then I told you about networking. I told you how important all that is. Make sure you network. I'm there. I might be a little ways down the street in Mississippi. I'm on the Board of Trustees, so I'll be up here on a regular basis, a lot more regular than I've been in the past. I had stopped coming for a while because I was trying to get things done at home. Those here on the staff and on the faculty know that my wife passed away. And so I had to deal with that. And that was tough since she and I had known each other since we were 11 years old. She didn't date me during high school. She had better sense. And so she had started dating me when I came here and got a little refined. And then she dated me. And then we, of course, got married and had many years to go together. So I'll be around, available. Anytime you want to talk to me, holler at me. Thank you so much.